Thank you so much, Anne.
That's great.
So now it's my pleasure. This podium has gotten out of control with all the cards. It looks like my desk. And that, of course, is not really funny, but for those of you who've seen my desk. The student speaker is always just such a pleasure. When I think back to all the different student speakers, this is, I think, my 7th Manus graduation. We've had people come on the stage with t-shirts, basically do stand-up, quasi-stand-up comic routines. We've had people inspire us with all sorts of personal stories. It's always something, I will admit, Bill Gustafson, I think, knows what the speaker's going to say. I haven't seen it, so it's always, and you haven't seen it either.
Yeah.
So it's always, you always wonder what is it that you're going to hear. But what we know we're going to hear is something that in a way represents all of the graduates. It is one of you speaking on her behalf, but also on your behalf and our behalf. And so it is I keep saying that, but it is my absolute pleasure to welcome Julia Meadows as our student speaker.
The first time I came to New York City, I looked up at the flashing billboards, the narrow strip that was the sky above my head, felt the churning, rhythmic energy like a sea beneath my feet, and I knew I would live here one day. 6 or 7 years later, I walked into a stately pre-war building on Manhattan's Upper West Side, my mother trailing behind me. I had gone to 7 auditions in the past few months, and Manus was one of the last. As I stepped through the heavy doorframe, I felt the old energy again, and I knew. You see, Manus wasn't the most striking school I had visited. It wasn't the most famous, and it wasn't the cheapest. But Manus was the school where a theory professor stopped my mother and myself to make conversation in the hallway. Where the dean personally spoke about his ideas and plans with each of the applicants. Where students bent intensely over their instruments, but also shouted cheerful greetings to each other in the hallway and sat in windowsills laughing while they ate their exotic New York City takeout lunches. So, while Manus had initially only been on my list because of its voice faculty, it became my first choice because it was a place where people looked exciting and interesting, but also happy. Where there would be rigor, but also artistic freedom, where I could belong without belonging to someone. I stand here this morning astounded at my sheer luck. Astounded because in the heart of this strange, brutal, beautiful city, I, the lonely girl from Vermont, am in a whole auditorium filled with people I respect and love. But let me go in a different direction for a moment, because today isn't about me, and it isn't really about Manus. Today is about Manus graduates. On any weeknight at the Manus College of Music, if you wander the halls around, say, 10 p.m., it's a lot like walking through an art gallery. You see, in between my freshman and sophomore years, Manus moved from its old home on West 86th Street to a newly renovated building in Greenwich Village, near the rest of the new school. If you're familiar with this new building, you will know that every hallway within is lined with practice rooms, and you might agree that the brand of practice room door chosen during renovation looks a lot like a picture frame, a border of metal surrounding a large glass window. Frame after frame creates a gallery. And if you wander through this strange exhibit looking carefully into each frame, if you're really paying attention, the picture inside will tell a story. Inside one of them, a pianist leans into his glossy black Steinway. While the friends he sees on Instagram are chugging from red solo cups, he's probably on his 6th hour at the instrument, and he will stay until his mind or his fingers give out. He'll ride the subway 45 minutes to get home to his apartment in Queens, stop by the corner market to pick up dinner, finish his music theory assignment, set an alarm for 7 a.m., and practically fall into his pillow. The next morning, he will drag himself to the coffee pot, commute another 45 minutes back into the city, claim one of the rooms before they fill up, and start again. In the next frame, a soprano studies her Italian aria. She's working on the high coloratura passage because she hasn't been able to sing it properly yet. Every day, she musters the courage to stand up and sing this aria, and every day her teachers tell her she's not quite there yet. And while someone studying a less personal discipline might be able to shrug their shoulders, distance themselves from their work, go home and watch some TV, she's still here because she is her instrument, and the music she cannot sing follows her through life like an irksome ghost. If you keep walking through the gallery, you will see chamber groups debating how best to begin tricky passages, brass players emptying spit valves, reed players meticulously whittling, scraping, and soaking, percussionists transporting instruments larger than small motorcycles, string players with hands and bows flying. You get the point. Graduating from any college is not easy. But graduating from music school is its own thing entirely. If you have ever been asked, for impenetrable and inexplicable reasons, by some overwhelming and unnameable part of yourself, to go beyond yourself, beyond your circumstances, beyond what is normal, beyond what is accepted, beyond what is easy, beyond what is reasonable, beyond what is safe. If the thought of it makes your heart ache, makes your hair stand on end, makes you sweat through your sheets as you toss and turn in the night, if it still compels you to get up in the morning, open your eyes to the sunlight, crack your knuckles, and try again. If these things have ever been true for you, you know what it is like to be an artist, and you may have an inkling of what it took for these graduates to be sitting here today. Which brings me to you, the graduates, my classmates, my colleagues, and my friends. What even to say about this moment? I can only speak from my own point of view, but I am glad there will be other people in the world who know that sweet little Elizabeth Aaron could make you quake in your boots if you brought in a poorly prepared ear training assignment. And that Professor Park always has to finish his egg sandwich before starting class. We love you, Professor, if you're here. But more seriously, I will finish by reading a few excerpts from a poem that to me describes exactly what it is to hold the beautiful responsibility that is a musician's calling. The poem is called Fiddler Jones by Edgar Lee Masters. It tells the life story of a small-town violinist, and it begins like this. The earth keeps some vibration going there in your heart, and that is you. And if the people find you can fiddle, why fiddle you must for all your life. The piece then goes on to describe how Jones, the young violinist, could never get any quote-unquote real work done in his life because he was always distracted by the music in his head or by friends who asked him to play for their parties and gatherings. In the last few lines of the poem, Jones says of himself, "How could I till my 40 acres, not to speak of getting more, with a medley of horns, bassoons, and piccolos stirred in my brain by crows and robins and the creak of a windmill? Only these. And I never started to plow in my life that someone did not stop in the road and take me away to a dance or a picnic. I ended up with 40 acres. I ended up with a broken fiddle and a broken laugh and 1,000 memories and not a single regret." My dear friends and fellow graduates, may you always trust the vibration, the knowing, the calling that is the music within you. May you love it until you are broken. And then may you get up again to dance. In the English language, commencement means a beginning. So by all means, let us begin. Thank you.